May 10th to Saturday, May 16th. If you know a police officer out there, just show them some love. Let them know that you appreciate them. Welcome to the show tonight. I got a special guest, my main man, William Bess, Associate Professor of Criminal Justice at Odessa College, and you still as an adjunct for University of Texas Permian Basin. Is that correct?
Yeah, just on an as-needed basis. I don't do it every year, but when
Yes,
they
sir.
need me, I'm available for them.
Awesome, awesome. Also advisor for PTK. And Mr. Bass, Will, is a veteran of the United States Armed Forces. He has 18 plus years experience as a state and federal probation officer, graduate of Federal Leadership Development Program, a certified speaker, trainer, and coach with John Maxwell team. Um, and his specialty, of course, one-on-one coaching, small, medium, large groups. Also, he is a great mentor, one of my mentors. You may not know that, but, every time that I went to his office, I was just looking for some advice. So I appreciate you on that, Will.
Absolutely.
Graduated from Sam Houston State University.
That's right.
With BS in criminal justice, and also got his master's degree from University of Texas Permian Basin. As you can see on the left side of the screen, he's a Texas fan, man, Texas football, and he knows I love Oklahoma.
You best believe it. I know, bro. It's you're lucky I'm a Christian. That's the only we got a relationship, man, because I normally don't fool with Oklahoma people. I don't fool with them. I make an exception from you, bro.
I appreciate that for real. I appreciate that. Anyway, Will, man, welcome to the show, man. I really appreciate you being here with me and just talk a little bit about your subject today. Especially lately, the state of our nation. So one of the questions that I have on my side is about the criminal justice system in America. So is it double standard or it favors certain kinds of people, whenever you talk about the economic part of it.
Right.
So does our criminal justice system in America needs to be reformed, or do you think it's working the way it's supposed to work?
I absolutely think it should be reformed. I mean, we have to realize that this criminal justice system, and the system is a good system. The system is a good system. The people are the problem. This system was not set up for everybody. It was not set up for all of our citizens, okay? And so the system is not really designed for everyone. And that is not an accident that minorities are overrepresented in our jails, in our prisons. I don't think it's the accident that minorities receive stiffer sentences, harsher punishments for committing the exact same crimes as the majority group. I don't think that's by accident, but rather it's by design. And I think the biggest problem with our criminal justice system is that, well, I'm gonna say the biggest problem, but one of the problems is that it is designed to be reactive as opposed to proactive. And so essentially, we wait for people to mess up. We wait for people to screw up, and then the government, the state, federal, local, whomever jumps in and say, how do we fix this? As opposed to looking at proactive measures to try to keep individuals from ending up in that system. And so I think it's set some individuals up for failure. I really do. I think the living conditions and the conditions of certain entities in our society put people in a situation where crime becomes a viable option for them. And I think that some of the powers that be that recognizes that, which is why certain crimes are penalized much more heavier than other crimes. For instance, in the federal system, white collar crime is punished a lot less than other crimes, such as drugs. And many times in my classroom, I ask my students questions to see if they can critically think their way to the answer. And I ask them, who makes the laws? And of course, it's the legislature, state or federal. And I say, who does the legislature primarily consist of? primarily consist of. And it's really the elite of our society.
Yeah.
And I asked them, if you look at a white collar crime such as tax evasion or robbery, something like that, versus a street crime, I said, who's more likely, the individuals making the laws? Are they more likely to sell some cocaine? Or they're more likely to commit tax evasion or commit fraud or, or hatch a Ponzi scheme where they can embezzle millions of dollars?
Yeah.
And obviously the answer is they're more likely to do those things. And so I asked them, do you think it's a coincidence that those things that they're more likely to do are penalized less heavy than those things that they would never do? And so at the end of the day, yes, we say a lot of things about system and equality and justice, but that's principle. That's not really reality. And if you are poor, if you're a minority, you best believe your walk through the criminal justice system is going to be much, much harsher than if you are not a minority and or you have some finances.
So it's fair to say that our criminal justice system favored certain type of people,
Oh, it's very fair to say that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not really opinion. It's factual data out there to prove that.
And whenever it comes to economics, it's the same way. Favor the rich, I should say.
Absolutely. O.J. Simpson, the O.J. Simpson case.
Uh-huh.
Actually, the O.J. Simpson case threw a little monkey wrench in the system because we saw at that moment that there's probably only one thing that outweighs the color of your skin, and that's how much money you got in your pocket.
Yeah.
And so the fact that O.J. was an African-American man who was accused of killing a white woman, which historically, when the white woman is a victim, you're going to get the highest sentence, no matter who you are. If a white woman is the victim, you're going to get the highest penalty. And so the fact that he was accused of killing two white people, including a white woman, and he walked, people were astounded, but it showed that even the color of your skin can be trumped by that color green. If you got enough green, you can hire enough people, that can help you get through the system.
So mainly it's all about the Benjamins, huh?
It's all about the Benjamins.
Man.
That skin color and that Benjamin it works miraculous things in our system. I mean, we can see it today.
Yeah. So is that still racism in America?
Is there racism in America?
Yeah.
That's just like asking me, do the Texas Longhorns dislike the Oklahoma Sooners? This country was built. This country was built on racism. It was founded on racism from the moment the early settlers landed here and essentially wiped out the indigenous people who were here, the Native Americans, to slavery, to Japanese internment camp. I mean, from our history on up to now, oppressing individuals because the color of their skin has been historically something that we've done in this country. So racism has never left. It looks different. It looks different. And so people make the assumption that it's not here anymore because, you can't call somebody the N-word in public and be okay. People are going to look at you. They're going to frown upon you. And I really think that racism has intentionally been misidentified because now when people think racist, they think of white supremacists. They think of skinheads. They think of neo-Nazis, okay? They think of the over-the-top racist. And so people can say, well, I'm not that person, then I'm not racist. But the fact of the matter is racism is so subtle and it is so ingrained into this culture. The scariest thing about racism, Matai, is not that it exists, but so many people are and they have no idea what it looks like. They will argue you to the ground that, no, my thoughts are not racist. It's not racist. They don't know what it looks like. And that's terrifying because you can't change it. You can't change it if you don't know it's there.
Okay.
I mean, think about diabetes. They call diabetes the silent killer.
Mm-hmm.
because many times you're asymptomatic until it's too late. And so you go through your life and you are diabetic and your body is getting worse and worse, but you don't know it because you're not getting these symptoms and you feel fine. And so by the time that you realize, oh man, I got a problem, it's a little too late. And I think racism is the same way. It is infested our culture and the infrastructures, the institutional racism is just so prevalent, but people don't see it and they don't feel it, and so they don't think it's there. And so you would have literally groups of people who would argue there's no more racism in America, and they truly believe that, and that is terrifying to me. That they really and truly believe it because they don't really understand what it is and what it looks like.
So, talking about that, it just brings me to systematic racism
Yeah,
has been the topic lately.
yeah.
And so does that has affected you in the past or currently in your professional life?
You know, in my professional life, can I tell a story?
Yes, yes.
When I first, I'll never use names or anything like that, but when I first started my career as a probation officer, as a state probation officer, I typically handled felonies. And so I had a few misdemeanors on my caseloads, but typically it was felonies. And so one of my individuals who had messed up on misdemeanor probation, I filed a motion to revoke the probation, and so we had a revocation hearing. And so I went to county court. And I wore a suit to work every day, so I had my
Yeah.
suit on. And so I go into the courtroom, and it's during the recess, but it's people milling all about. Everybody's in there. And so I go up to the bench, and the judge is not at the bench. He's sitting over there chatting somewhere, and the bailiff is behind the bench doing something. And I said, "Excuse me, have you guys called, whatever my client's name was?"
Yeah.
And he says, "Get your arm off the bench."
Huh.
And I was like, "Oh, excuse me," because I was kind of leaning on it. I said, "Oh, excuse me." I said, "Has y'all called such and such?" And he said, "Who?" And dude had like serious attitude. He said, "Who?" And so I said the name again. And he said, "Is your lawyer here?" I was like, "What?" He says, "Your attorney here." And, I've matured. My emotional intelligence has gotten better as I've aged, but I was not there at that moment. And so, I said something to the effect that I don't have a blank attorney. I'm a probation officer. And he's like, "Huh?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a probation officer." I say, "So you're trying to tell me even a black man in a suit is still a defendant in the courtroom, even though I'm in a suit?" And so by that time, the judge yells across the room with an attitude, "Hey, what does he want?" And the guy was like, "Oh, Judge, he's a probation officer." Instantly, the judge is, "Oh, hey, how you doing? How you doing?" And so I'm thinking, okay, had that been one of my white counterparts that walked into the courtroom wearing a suit, asking about a defendant, to me, there are no circumstances where anybody in there would have thought he was the defendant. He would have been the lawyer. He would have been whatever the case may be. And so racism is so subtle that people have these ingrained thoughts and feelings that they don't even realize. And so in my career, especially with the feds, I saw a lot of brown people go to prison for a really, really, really long time. Really, really long time.
Yeah.
And after a while, it gets to you because you're seeing families destroyed. You're seeing 22-year-old kids going to prison for the rest of their lives because there's no parole in federal prison. So you will die in prison if you get life. Mm-hmm. And I saw 23-year-old young men going to prison for the rest of their life for selling drugs. Not that I am pro selling drugs. I understand that it's wrong. But when you look at the severity of the penalties versus the individuals who are going to commit those crimes, it really takes you to stretch your imagination to not see the racism in that, to even see the penal codes and how they're set up. And the individuals who sell certain drugs will be penalized so much more heavier than individuals who would sell other drugs. I mean, it's almost impossible not to see the racist aspect of that. So just talking about the criminal justice system itself, it is set up that way. It is set up that way and is ingrained, and there's really no other way to explain why a white man can commit the same crime as a black man. All things being equal, meaning criminal history and things of that nature, the average is that the black man is going to get a harsher sentence. You can't really explain that away other than looking the horse in the face and acknowledging that there's some systematic racism in our country and our criminal justice system. But people don't like talking about it. It makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's a tough topic for
It
some
is.
people. You know what I
It
mean?
is.
But it's
It
needed.
is.
As you know, my wife, she's white. So
Right.
my kids have.
Right.
And of course I have a great relationship with my in-laws. They both educated, highly
Mm-hmm.
educated, and
Mm-hmm.
and they accepted me with open arms. But
Right.
does it exist still? Yes. Like you
Right.
said, it's not direct like it used to back in the day, but
Right.
it's still there.
It's still
you
there.
know um one of the things, so how do we change this? Because I look at I look at a successful person, successful adult. You a veteran. Your wife, really nice job, really good job.
Right.
Your son currently, serving. Also, shout out to Nick, by the way. You
All
know,
right. All right.
um, your son serving. You know what I mean.
Right.
You done it. So, what did you do to become successful? So another young black kid, can be like, look at Mr. Bess, look at Mr. Bess' life, look his wife, look his son. So
Right.
what's your advice, with all these, barriers that, black kids face nowadays
Right.
or
Right.
been facing for a while?
It's been facing for a while. That's a really good question. First of all, I would never be one of those people that say, because I did it this way, you can do it this way, because
Yeah.
everybody's journey is different. And I think some people get in a certain position, they say, hey, I did it, you can do it. And that's not necessarily true, because our path and our journeys, are different. I mean, there are a lot of individuals coming from your home country who would love to be in your position, but they didn't have your talent, they didn't have your skills, even though they may have had your desire.
Yeah.
So it would be unfair to say, well, you could have done it too, because they say, hey, you know what? I don't have those gifts to do that. But that being said, I was brought up single parent home. My mom is my brother, my sister, and myself. And one of the things that I used to tell some of my young defendants that I worked with, especially the young black men, I mean, we would have conversations. A lot of them didn't have a male role model, positive male role model in their lives. And I would tell them, say, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter where you start, but it's where you finish. At the end of the day, you got to make good decisions.
Yes.
You hate to make good decisions, and you have to be accountable. I had to talk with my son many times. And my son is like me in that if you look at his circle of influence, it's not just going to be one color. Okay. When he left to go to the Air Force, we had a little house party, and we was taking pictures, and I didn't really think about it until later. I was looking at the pictures, and there's like a United Nations in the house. My friends were all colors, his friends were all color, and it was nothing an intentional thing. That was just the way I was raised, and that's the way I raised him. And I
Yeah.
thank my mother. And it's ironic, Matai, we're talking about this because I just had this discussion with my kids today in class. And I thank and appreciate my mother, because she grew up during the civil rights movement. She went to a segregated school. She went to the color only. She went to, I have to, can't eat in the front of the restaurant being called the N-word. She went through all that. But she didn't allow it to make her bitter. She didn't allow it to taint her. And so growing up, we never heard that, white people are the devil and you can't trust white people. And me and my brother, you better not bring a white girl. We never had that in my house.
Wow.
Our friends came up because we were into sports. And so, that sports is all encompassing, right? And so, man, we got everybody at the house because my mom cooked. So we got all kinds of faces at the house eating some of my mom's cooking. And that's how I was brought up. And so even though, I'm early 50. And so by the time I was getting out of high school, crack cocaine hit the streets. And I knew guys who were broke, poor. All of a sudden, man, They wearing
Oh,
nice clothes. They driving nice cars. Dude who ain't never had a girlfriend before, now they got a woman for a different day of the week. And so you know
ooh-wee.
that quick money changed some things.
Yeah.
It did change some things, but you still have to make decisions. You know, and I tell young people, hey, you cannot put that onus on somebody else because you're responsible for your own life. You are. And just because it's going to be harder, I used to tell Nick, I tell my son, hey, look, you know what? Your best friend Nate, he's a great guy, little white kid, but let me tell you something, you're going to have to work harder than Nate to get the exact same thing in life. That's just the way it is. It doesn't matter if it's fair. Nobody cares about what's fair. Life is not fair.
Nope.
I said, the fact of the matter is you're responsible for your journey, your life, and you're going to have to do what you need to do to get what you need to get. And so that's what I would tell young people. That's what I'll tell, you know, a young minority. Man, you can't get caught up in that discrimination and racism is unfair, because you're right. It's there and it is. But at the end of the day, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Nobody, man.
You have to make the decisions to do the things you need to do to be successful. It's your responsibility because it's your life. And that's really the end of it for me. If it's going to be tougher for you, it's going to be tougher for you. There are some people playing professional sports. You're an athlete.
Yeah.
And you already know that to get on a certain level is harder for some people. It's harder for some people because they don't have natural gifts and abilities and stuff. So they got to work that much extra to get there. And, you know, we talked a little bit about the Michael Jordan thing. And I think that's one of the things that Mike may miss out on is also, he wants people to have that warrior and killer mentality. I get that. But I think Mike didn't really realize that he had some stuff that was given to him by the man above. He worked hard. He did all those things, but he had some stuff that other people just didn't have. And so to treat people as if you can do what I do, that minimizes brilliance. That's why, Matai, and this doesn't sound good to a lot of people, but I don't go around telling kids you can be anything in life that you want to be. I don't. And the reason I don't do that is because we're not all created to do the same thing. And we don't all have the same gifts. And so when you tell somebody, hey, you can do anything, well, those people who are gifted to do that, you're kind of minimizing that. You can tell a kid, hey, if you work hard, you practice, you can be the next Michael Jordan. You can be LeBron. Probably not, because that's their gift. Those dudes were made to play basketball. They were made to play basketball. They were created to play basketball. Yeah. And so you can have some success, but if that's not your gift, and I tell my kids, you got to find your gift because you're uniquely created. And there's something for you. There is something that nobody in the world can do like you do. There's something that nobody can bring to the earth like you can. Yeah. But you got to find out what that is. Now, once you find out what that is, Matai, you can't be stopped. Once you find out what your gift is, the sky is the limit. But you can't tell a kid you can do anything if you want it hard enough, because if you can't sing, if you don't have that gift, bruh, you can take all the singing lessons you want to. Oh. You can sing in the shower as much as you want to. Oh. Bruh, you ain't gonna be Whitney Houston. You ain't gonna be they have a gift, man. Yeah. They have a gift. And so I think we shortchange children when we say
we do.
You can do anything you want to, because a lot of time is wasted on chasing somebody else's gift. Ooh, that's theirs. That's theirs. You got to find yours and be great at yours. Okay, I can want to do what Matai does all I want to, but you know what? I'm not 6 foot. What? How old is he? 6'4"? 6'5"? How tall?
6'5". Don't shortchange me.
Bro, I'm sorry. Us short people, we can't never. Once you're over 6 feet tall, it all looks the same. It all looks the same. But you know what, bro? As much as I want to, I can't be 6'5". So there are some things that you can do physically I can't do, and so I got to stay in my lane. I got to find what's for Will. What is for Will? Okay.
I think that in my life, you know, my career and everything else. Once I realized that's when I started, you know, succeeding. I feel like, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, no, I can't be him. I can't be her, man. I gotta be me. I gotta do what I'm best at. You know, look at my kids. I let my kids play the sports like they want to play the sports that I play. They want to be that basketball player, but I tell them, I say, you know, I'm gonna coach you. I'm gonna teach you basketball. I'm gonna do whatever it takes
Right.
for you to succeed, but I'm not
Right.
gonna force you to
Right.
love the game the way I love, because the way I love the game is like it's different. Like my
Right.
mentality, you know,
Right.
we talk about this so many times before. Whenever we jump in the court, is game
Mhm.
time. Is game time, you know. And
Right.
me watching Mike, and we talk about Mike, you
Mhm.
know, and I talked to my wife about it. I was like, you know, and I was like, what you think about it? And she was like, well, that kind of attitude is what we need today,
Mhm.
but it wouldn't work today.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
And I was like, man, that makes sense. You know,
Uh-huh.
how you gonna tell a kid who's making, you know, $150 million or, you know, whatever money, hey,
Right.
you suck, you stink, get out of here. Bye. You already
Right.
paid me. I can't find a team. That's why we
Right.
have a lot of kids, young kids right now. They go to college for 1 year. They
Yeah.
don't play. They don't have to compete now because they
Nope.
5-star athletes. They can go
Nope.
to the next D1.
Right.
You know, my man Jalen Hurt, nice player. But he
Mhm.
was like, man, I need my playing time, so I'm going to leave Ohio State. I'm not going to sit behind this guy. I'm going to go start somewhere. And he did.
Right.
So
Right.
the
Left
opportunity,
Alabama. Right.
yeah, yeah. So the opportunities are different. And, you know, and I appreciate whenever you share that, you know, each individual got to be unique. And that's what it's all about for me. And talking about, you know, the opportunities that we have, me coming from Africa, you know,
Right.
and before, because we learn as we go. We gotta learn, you know, and
Right.
to make progress.
Right.
So I really, for a long time, I was like, man, you know, some of these African Americans, they just, you know, kind of lazy.
Yeah.
I came from Africa, man,
Uh-huh.
and I'm here, free school, you know,
Right.
playing basketball. Why you live here in America? Why can't
Right.
you do what I'm doing? You know, I
Right.
came from overseas. But
Right.
then the more I learned the culture, you know, we black, but the culture has been divided for a while, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I
Right.
got to learn the African American culture and see me like, man, there's a lot of things that these people are going through that we didn't go through back home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Back home, I
Right.
mean, we suffer some racism, but you know,
Right.
got to the point that like the majority wins. It's mostly black over there.
Right.
And then
Right.
here, man, it's not like that. And I'm like, you know,
You.
I can't be judging they based on what I did. You know what I mean?
Right.
And my life
Right.
is the same, but it's different.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
I start having different, you know, view and different respect. I was like, man, it's hard because sometimes
Yeah.
I think about it. Well, I was like, if there's a reason why I was born in Mozambique, Southeast Africa, you know, because
Uh-huh.
if I was born, let me say in Dallas, Texas, or Oak Cliff, or where you from,
Right.
Houston or New
Right.
York,
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. Growing up, there were stuff that I used to do.
Right.
I mean, I'm not even sure if I will be alive. I mean, even back home,
Right.
you know, I was, you know, this close to just getting deep trouble, but I did it.
Right.
But you know,
Right.
it's different life. So now, you know, I just learn to appreciate, you know, both culture and understand, because you got to understand, you know.
Absolutely. You do, man. You made a great point with that because I mean, like for instance, our young people, our millennials and our generation, I think Z is the next one they call. I mean, there's a lot of criticism about them. They're soft, they're this, they're entitled.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is there's some truth and untruth in all generations because every generation think theirs the best. The baby boomers think they're the best. The traditionalists like, hey, you know what? We saved the world from Nazis. So we're the greatest generation. And then the baby. And so everybody thinks that they have an edge. But at the end of the day, when we talk about the young people, look back on our lives, bro, not one day in my life did I ever worry about somebody coming in the classroom and shooting up the place when I was at school.
Yeah.
That was not even on the table. Bully, if there's somebody in your school that you had to watch out for, if you just get aboard that person, you good. But now you got people from another state, from another country can bully you. I mean, you cannot get away from it. They face so many things, so many more challenges that people
Yes.
don't really appreciate and don't really expect. It's like, okay, you know what? There are some things that's some truth
Yes.
that they may have grown up in a culture where, and I blame Generation X, my generation, for that, because we had those baby boomer parents who were working all the time, and we were latchkey kids, so we were coming home to empty houses. And so when we had kids, we like, hey, you know what? Screw that. The baby boomers are all about work, 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 work. But we're like, no, we're gonna balance that work and life. We're gonna balance that. So we're not missing ball games, we're not missing practices, we're not doing all these things. Okay. Well, I think in trying to do that, some of them went overboard and try to protect their children from life. And so I tell my adult friends, if you're complaining about this generation that's soft, it's because you softened them. I read one time, and this was some years ago, I think two coaches, I think from middle, I won't say Millennials, it could be Millennials, I don't remember. But anyway, the basketball coaches, like the men and women, they all left. The boys and girls coach left at the same time. And so, because they was getting a lot of craziness from the parents, and that just like drove them crazy. And I remember somebody wrote a column, somebody from MRT wrote a column, and in it they said, and I don't know if it was their direct quote or they got it from somewhere, but they said the problem is, instead of us preparing our children for the path, we're busy preparing the path for our children. So we're trying to remove as many obstacles as possible to make our children's life as easy as possible. And that is not the way that we want to do it. There's not, I think there's a direct correlation into that suicide is the the number two killer, and teenagers. Number two, behind accidents, because when you try to remove obstacles and you don't allow children to experience life and experience failure and heartbreak, and you give them a trophy just for showing up, as opposed to, hey, you know what? These three, they get something, nobody else. If you want one of those, you're going to have to work harder. When you take that away, you do instill some, oh, gee, this is tough. I don't know how to handle it. And so you're right, man. We judge and we're looking at other people's situation and like, why didn't you doing this? Why ain't you doing that? But if you don't have empathy, man, and if you don't realize what their journey look like, you're going to have to just zip it. You know, you just going to have to zip it because it don't look the same.
Yeah,
you know, it just doesn't look the same.
Yeah, man, I really want to have you back for the emotional intelligence that you teach. That's a great class, man, and I think will be like a great topic for you to come back and share with us sometimes.
Oh, that's always a good topic, man.
It is. I mean, I remember whenever I asked you to come and talk to the kids on my program, Choices, man. And I sat down, I was like, man, I'm learning right now. And that was great. That was great. Yeah. Is there anything else, Will, that you want to share with us? Besides Michael Jordan, you know, yesterday we talked to Bill.
No, Mike is a GOAT. Mike is great. I'm not 100% fan of you know, the way he led and just personal preference. I'll tell you this, a little thing that's bothersome to me, because you hear so many of his defenders says, yeah, but it worked. And I think that's kind of a problem with our society right now, starting at the top. Don't want to make this political, but starting at the top. It's okay if I bully you and I do this and I do that, as long as I get the results I desire. And I just think that's the wrong message that we have to send, you know, because the ends don't always justify. I mean, the means don't always justify the end. I think you can lead people with dignity, and you can lead them and build them up instead of tearing them down. I mean, Mike is the man. I would never dispute that. But people got to realize, for those 6 championships, there was only 2 people on the team that whole time. 2 people, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. So there was a lot of movable parts. And people don't say, wow, these guys winning championship. Why are they leaving the team? Why BJ leaving the team? Why BJ, he won 3 in a row. Why would he leave that? And you have to sit back.
That's questions that people not asking. Yeah.
You can lead with fear, and it can work, but it's temporary. It's temporary. And at some point, you're going to lose people. I mean, you look at certain aspect of and I'm trying to be judicious with my words, but if you look at certain organizations in Washington, D.C., and there's a lot of change. When you see that, that's because what's working for a year It's not going to work for 2 years. What's working for 2 months may not work for 4 months. People will adjust. They would get tired of it, and they would move on. And so that's all I want to do is talk about Mike. Mike is the GOAT. If I had to win one game, and I love LeBron, I love Elijah Wan, I love these guys, but if I had to win one game, and I'm picking teams,
you got to go with Mike.
Yeah. It is what it is. But I'm competitive as well. We just kind of do it. We just kind of do it differently. But no, man, I appreciate you bringing people on just for different perspectives and just to hear people's voices and just to talk. There's not enough conversations these days, man.
No.
People don't talk enough, and people listen even less.
Yeah.
And so, anytime you want to have a conversation, man, you just let me know the date and time, and I'll be there. Because what we're talking about is what we would talk about in the office.
Oh yeah.
When you were there. Yes. These are conversations that we had. So it's no different to me. We can have them anytime you want, brother.
Man, I appreciate that. And going back just to finish up on Michael, his leadership style. I mean, I understand from a basketball standpoint, man. I play basketball. I understand, get on somebody's face, but it gets to the point that you just had enough, Even Horace Grant almost put a whoop on his butt because, he was like, man, you play like crap, so you shouldn't have dinner. You ain't going to tell a grown man that you can't eat dinner.
You kidding me?
I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. I'm going to have my dinner.
Exactly. And I get the competitiveness, bro. You can ask Sean Mundy, our buddy Sean Mundy.
Yeah.
When we play
I need to get Mundy over here.
You need to get Mundy on the thing. Me and Mundy need to be on there together.
Exactly. That's what we got to That's
and Mundy will tell you, when we play a pickup game, man, I'm there the whole time. I'm talking to people. I'm about to just walk off the court because I got dudes on my team don't want to play no defense. I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I can't live like that. So I get what Mike's saying. I get his attitude. I mean, I'm not comparing I don't have an ounce of his talent, but I get his mentality. But my thing is, when you start to emasculate grown men with wives and kids, and you're calling them certain names, bruh, I'm like Shannon Sharp. I don't care who you are. We going at it. Well, you're not going to be talking to me like that. You can get on me and say, bro, you need to work harder. You need to try harder. Your dude killing you, man. You need to play better. You can do that to me all day long. But when you start calling me the beat, and you start calling me a garden tool and all those kind of things, no, bro.
That's a different conversation.
That's a different conversation.
It took me to a book that I just read like last year from David Goggins. David Goggins is a hard dude, man. Navy SEAL, one of the top 10 Navy SEALs, in America. And in his book, he was talking about, whenever he was in charge of the physical activities for the Navy team and how he got in trouble with them because they could not keep up with his level of, craziness, athleticism, or fitness. And this guy was like, we Navy SEALs, we got to perform at this level. But the guys that he was getting mad at or were getting mad at him, they're like, bad dudes, man, like Navy SEAL, the best,
the hardest
of the hard.
Yeah.
And these dudes couldn't keep up with him, and this guy was mad. And I was like, man, everybody's built different. Even the best of the best cannot keep up. I mean, if you gifted like that, you gifted like that.
Exactly.
So not everybody's at the same level, even though they like the best of the best.
Yes.
And that's something that
the cream always going to rise.
Yeah,
the cream always going to rise. That's always going to be somebody who is above the rest. That's just the way it is.
That's the way it is, man.
And you know what, Matai? And I know we're finna get out of here, but that really explains a lot why a lot of great ball players don't make good coaches. They don't make good coaches because they don't have the understanding that, hey, I was great. I can do these things. I expect you to do them, and they don't have the understanding that me being great is one thing, but me getting greatness out of you is another thing.
It's another thing.
And so I got to get you great to your level of greatness. Doesn't necessarily have to be my level of greatness. That's why a lot of them fail. A lot of them fail because they're like, man, these dudes just won't do it. It's like, dude, maybe they can't do it. You got to get them to perform to their maximum, not to your maximum, bro.
Yeah.
So,
and that's facts right there, man. That's true. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. But Will, man, greatly appreciate Sabina too for joining us.
Hey, Sabina.
Sabina
Yeah,
out there.
You should have been Sabina on one
Hi.
day. She got some
Oh,
things
there
to
she
say.
is. She's saying hi. Sabina, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us and listen. So what do you think about the conversation, the interview with Mr. Bess?
Oh, I love Bess talking all the time, so I can hear him all day.
That's what I'm talking about.
She makes me do all these professional learning development things for OC, man.
Because you do a really good job. Otherwise, we don't want you.
Man, I miss you guys and appreciate you guys being here, man. And Will, I holler at Monday because I need you and Monday on the show.
For sure. That'll be a good show. I'll sit there and be a spectator of that one. That'll be fun.
Now that will be me. I'll be like, yeah, let's go.
But I appreciate you though, man. We miss you. We miss you in these parts.
Man, I miss y'all too, man. And the Rona just messing up everything.
And the Rona is a little stink. Hey, like Michael Jackson say, man, the Rona is a stink hoe. Ain't nothing but a hoe.
Okay. But you have some like fancy
Don't like
going on in there.
I don't like Corona.
And mics and everything.
No, you know
stuff.
that's what I gotta do if I need to talk to y'all, man. I gotta be a little fancy, Sabina.
Yeah, he fancy. He like DJ Nice.
Get out of here.
Club quarantine.
You said club quarantine, man. It's crazy. But man, it was great talking to you guys, man. I greatly appreciate you guys.
Same here, my brother.
And you guys have a great one, man. And I'll see you next time. Sabina, you be cool.
You too.
Bass, you be cool, man. I'll holler at y'all later.
All right, you too, Matai. Stop running in that heat, brother. You ain't in Africa no more.
Man, I'm fixing to go back right now.
And you ain't young as you used to be. Slow your roll.
I know, right? All right, yo.
All right. Have a good one, bro.
All right, you too. Man, just want to thank you guys for participating in another episode of 10-8 in service. I appreciate you guys and appreciate having my man, William Bass with me. And Sabina, thanks for stopping by and joining us. As you can see, you can check us out on Instagram, 10-8 in service, or check us on our YouTube channel, which I will upload this video later on, and you guys get to watch the interview. If you know somebody that needs to be in the show, like Sean Monday, holla at me, man. Let me know. 10-8 in service, and I would like to, put somebody on the spotlight, somebody who's doing great for the community, law enforcement, educator, somebody that's helping out, man, just making a difference out there. Please let me know, and I would like to have them over here with me. You know what time it is. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. Headquarters, show me 1042.